estos jóvenes de la generación Z y prefieren contratar a los millennials, que son las personas que son mayores de 30 años.
Are we live? Yes. Okay, great. We're live. Okay, welcome to Living Like a Local Sunday Live. I am Jenny Ari, La Gringa Salvadoreña, and we're going to talk about President Bukele's big announcement, how it affects foreigners, diaspora, and foreigners that are coming to El Salvador, that want to live in El Salvador, because this channel is all about what life in El Salvador is like for a foreigner. And a lot of diaspora, and a diaspora is someone who maybe their parents are from El Salvador and then they left El Salvador and during the war or sometime during the 90s or the 2000s, and maybe they had kids in Canada or outside of the country, and those kids have grown up and now they're thinking about returning. So that's a diaspora, or they call it hermanos lejanos. So they are now returning because they've lived outside of El Salvador for quite some time, and they're saying, okay, I'm ready to come back. So anyway, so what President Bukele's big announcement is, and honestly, I think this is the coolest announcement he has made yet, in my personal opinion, because this new transformation of El Salvador is all about empowerment. It's all about giving freedom back to the citizens that are here. It's all about giving them opportunity. It's honestly, this transformation is about bringing the American dream south, you could say, here to El Salvador. Because what is the American dream? The American dream is like, regardless of where you came from, regardless of where you were born, regardless of who your parents were, regardless of what education and where you went and got your education, regardless of that, is that if you go in, you dedicate yourself, you work hard, you get her done, as we say in the US, right? If you get in there and you get it done and you work hard and you learn as fast as you can learn, and kind of you merit and develop that growth, that you can make an amazing life for yourself, that you can make it, you can be successful, as opposed to in most second and third world countries, they work super hard all day, never get a raise, get paid peanuts. Doesn't matter how much they know, doesn't matter how much they can go and get an education, but they still just get paid peanuts. And there isn't really a way to really develop and really kind of move up the success ladder. And so, yeah, so what President Bukele is doing is he is bringing that here. And so here's a little bit of history about how it works. Okay, first of all, there's been a system of becas. Becas are scholarships. Okay, so there's been a scholarship system in place, and it started all the way back when they sold the public telephone company years ago. They sold the public telephone company, and they started making these educational scholarships that were available supposedly to be for kids that couldn't afford to go to further education after public school was done. Now, after, of course, there was a bit of corruption after that sale of the public telephone company, and yeah, a few people took a couple thousand with them, and then, but the becas were called becas Fantel, okay, and they were given out, and they were given to kids that had above a 7 average. Now here in El Salvador, we don't do up north you do the 1 to 4 scale. You know, your GPA is like 3.9 or something like that. So down here they do a scale of 1 to 10. So if you had above a 7, so in like an 80 average, then you could apply for a beca. And Bukele, when he came in, he changed the name of the becas to Roque Dalton scholarships. And that's because Roque Dalton was a famous Salvadoran writer who was killed by the guerrilla um, way back, decades ago. And so, in order to honor him, President Bukele changed the name to Roque Dalton. Now, these Roque Dalton becas are now going to get changed with this new kind of, it's more like a scholarship system, I would say. Under the Dirección de la Integración, which is kind of a department that President Bukele put together with Alexander Guzman. And in this, they're restructuring how they do the becas. And what it looks like is, well, you still have the requirements of like, you need to have a greater than a 7 average, right? So I guess in northern terms, it's like you have to have a 3.0 GPA average. That'd be comparable, okay? So if you have it, and you have to maintain above a 3.0 grade average, or of course down here above a 7 grade point average to keep your scholarship. But the thing is in the past with the Roque Dalton, there was a lot of complaints because sometimes there was people that had the money to send their kids to college, but they had their kids, apply for the becas anyway. And so the becas were kind of going to kids, rich kids, instead of going to maybe kids that there was no way they were going to be able to study if they didn't get that beca. That beca was the only way they were going to get in there. And so, as with all things, that is cleaning up Salvadoreño style. That's one of the reasons why they did this kind of changeover. And so now what it is, and he announced this at this auditorium, it was filled with kids that were scholarship kids that had received scholarships or kids that were looking for scholarships. It was a massive gathering. Pretty cool, because you see massive gathering. You don't see massive gatherings for presidents nowadays, especially this one, because when he went in there, the jóvenes, if you haven't seen the transmission, I suggest you see it, because the kids were all like shouting and cheering and yelling, and he's walking out. They're all trying to take selfies with him, and it was just really cool to see youth that were so in love and inspired by their president and leader, because a true leader is somebody that you want to emulate. And I don't know very many presidents around the world that have a kind of life that we would want the youth to emulate. Even guys that are good guys, maybe their past may not necessarily be a good past to emulate. Just saying. Either way, so what he announced in this great big assembly was that now all kids that graduate from a public okay, I'm going to kill this word, bachillerato, which means a high school. If the kids that graduate from a public high school, after they complete it, they can now receive the beca, and it's not just a grade thing, and it's not just, okay, you have to have financial need or proof of financial need. He's saying, look, if you graduated from public high school and you want to get a scholarship, he has created, there's these 7 different courses, they call them. There's 7 different courses or activities that a kid can do in order to receive a scholarship to go to the university, a scholarship to go to a technical school, like say repair HVAC or plumbing, or to go to vocational school. Say you want to become a hairdresser, you want to go to chef, you want to become a bartender, you need to take a vocational class. So in order to receive these, they have to take a certain number of these courses. Now, what are these courses? The courses are in order to help the kids kind of be more professional, kind of mature, grow up a little bit. The first one is called DNA of Poverty and Integration Culture. I think this one's a little bit like a history recap of El Salvador's past and maybe some of the psychology behind a poverty mindset versus a success mindset. Um, that's the first course they can take. The second course is 40 hours of math or language kind of further study. So let's say they graduate with their bachillerato, they go and take some foreign language classes um, at a foreign language academy, right? So they take up to 40 hours. That would count as one of the activities of you're showing you want further education. You're showing you have a culture of learning, a culture of studying, of progressing, of regardless of if it's mandatory. The next one is there are business workshops that they can go to in order to fulfill that course. There are expert talks that they can go to, is another course that they can go to, which is interesting because from the information it says here is, I mean, charlas con expertos, it sounds they're like TED Talks, like Salvadoran TED Talks. Like maybe they have like a really successful engineer come in and, you know, give a give like his own expert talk about his career, maybe why he loves it, what he does. I'm not exactly sure how they're forming this, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like Sivar talks. Move over, Ted. Here we go. Um, the next course is guided tours to universities and various tech schools. Again, so they can keep on their mind. I want to grow more. I want to go more. I want to follow educating myself and educating others. The next one is this one I love again because some kids aren't they're not book learners. If you look at some of the most successful CEOs that are out there, they have C averages in school. And I mean, I've got some kids like that oh my goodness, with dyslexia and stuff like that, and school is like a four-letter word to them, but they're super smart. And I mean, either they're just really good. My one son is an amazing strategist. He can smoke almost anybody in chess. He can see things, he can see 6 8 moves out. You know what though, his handwriting, oh my gosh, you'd think it's kindergarten, okay? But he is super clever and super smart, right? But he hates school. So I like that these activities aren't all, oh, well, if you just study really hard, well, if you're just really smart, if you just have above that 3.0, GPA average, then you get to go and get this Becca. And I love this last one. It's community service. You do 40 to 60 hours of community service. That's another course. So all these courses, the DNA of poverty, the 40 additional hours of math or language study, business workshops, the CVAR talks, guided tours of universities and schools, or community service. The last one is they can participate in the Dirección de Integración programs. So the this this kind of department or whatever that Alexander Guzman and Bukele have put together, they're going to have various programs that they can participate in. So of these 7 options, well, okay, with my broken pinky, this will be 7. So with these 7 options, if a kid takes 2 of them, okay, if he just has to pick 2 of them, and he can get a scholarship to go get a vocational course if he wants to. If he completes 4 of them, then he can go and get a scholarship to go get a technical degree in something. If he completes 6 of these courses, then he can get a university scholarship. And that opens up a lot more university options in El Salvador because Um, More than anything else, this will open up thousands of kids will now be able to study, whereas before they just couldn't because their single mom is barely making ends meet, barely just keeping food on the table, working crazy long hours, 6 7 hours, 6 7 days a week. Now, and say she's got a really smart, really mechanical kid, and now he can go and possibly go to university. Two, it's going to create a massive educated workforce, which is a big thing that President Bukele is trying to push with all the foreign companies that he's trying to bring in. He needs an educated workforce that can do the work that these companies are going to need. A lot of tech companies need people that understand programming, that understand engineering. With Yeah, and this is a way that it's no excuses. It's if you don't go and further your education, it's because you don't want to, because he's trying to take down the barriers. So there's low to no barriers of entry when it comes to getting higher education. And the last big thing is to break the poverty cycles, and as I said in the beginning, bring that American dream down here, because that also it reverses the brain drain. Brain Central and South America always have the brain drain problem of the smartest people here. They would move up north because they're like, I can get paid a lot more up there than I can here. And honestly, these Trump changes of massive deportation, it's going to be a massive blessing to Central America, because all of these people that have had this experience and have lived in this kind of alternate universe of the US and how the US rolls, um, now you can take these people that are really smart, are coming back to their home countries, kind of by force, a little bit by choice, and coming back, and they're bringing the brain. Now it's like the brains are coming back, but you're coming back with all this experience, all these great opportunities, that now you can bring that American dream back to your home countries and help the kids here to live up to their potential and create the paradise, create the country that you wish you had, so you didn't necessarily have to go north. And that's the best part about this. And just saying, in my opinion, that's just in my little gringa salvadoreña opinion. Um, Now, something else to kind of clarify on why this is such a big thing is down here, education in El Salvador. Um, they've got they do have a national public university. Okay, and the national public university that kids can go to, it's called the University of El Salvador. It has not been known for necessarily producing very professional, very prepared students for the workplace and for bigger companies. And so there's private universities and there's one public university. And like most universities around the world, there's been a lot of complaints that as a public university, there's a lot of leftist, kind of more communistic leaning ideologies being taught there and being shared there and promoted there. And so if you didn't want to go to a more left leaning university, you're kind of SOL if you couldn't afford a private. But with these becas, somebody could go to a private university now, and it's opening up so many more options before, because I've also heard of like overcrowding at the University of El Salvador too. And so, but the other big thing, at least for my clients and for the people that watch my channel, is this is going to open up a lot of job opportunities. Hello, they're going to need people to teach these courses, right? And moderators to keep tabs on the kids and how they're doing their courses and if they've completed all the requirements. And above and beyond that, there's going to be a huge increase in education in universities. Universities are going to need a lot more professors. There's going to need to be a major modernization of education in El Salvador. And I mean, President Bukele has already kind of started that with his bringing Google in and Google Classroom in, because if you're going to do a one to many, you really need computers, and you really need to be able to make your tests on a computer, and that, because if not, you can't have one professor that has to grade like 200 tests. It's just, yeah, that's kind of crazy. But and we've already seen new schools open up. For example, this week I went and I visited Key Institute. Key Institute is a new math engineering. It's a new engineering institute right across Gran Via that is focused on computer science engineering. It's focused on manufacturing and industrial engineering, and I think it's focused too on like mechanical. I think mechanical engineering is another big focus that they put on it. And they're big. The way they teach is they go through projects, and they have like your mentors and your professors. They give you constant feedback. It's not so much grade based, it's more mastery based. And and so that's and that was actually started by Bob Criete, the owner of Avianca. He he started that with, he committed and told President Bukele, hey, I'm going to start this engineering institute um, here in El Salvador, so we can produce more of these tech engineering savvy um, professionals that the country needs. Um, and there's also, let's see, and so there's lots of educational. So I honestly think the next big boom after construction is going to be an education boom. It's going to be an education boom of kids and people needing professors. So if you are coming down to El Salvador, thinking about moving to El Salvador, um, hello, and you're an expert, and I have lots of people contact me. People contact me all the time saying, I want to answer President Bukele's call. They're like, well, hey, I'm a retired engineer. I've made my money. I don't need any more money. I can't really, my body's not working like it used to. I just want to share my experience, my knowledge. That's what I have left, and I want to share it before I'm done with this life. And I've hosted these guys, and I've come down, and I'm going around. And that's the thing, President Bukele, if you're watching this, please, these people, they're answering your calls. I've got scientists, engineers coming to me saying, okay, I'm here. He called us. Where do I go? And honey, I'm kind of scrambling. Okay, trying to find places where these amazing people can volunteer and can share their knowledge. And because some of them don't speak Spanish, so there's a little bit of a niche there, and they don't necessarily want to take a Salvadoran job. Now, you need to a heads up. A adjunct professor that is just starting at, say, La UCA or a university, it's only going to be paying you around 700. Starting pay is only like 700 a month. But I think that's only for, maybe, I don't know how many classes that's necessarily teaching. Maybe it's just like one or two classes or something like that. But the point is, don't think, no, please don't. Don't think, what? Huh?
No te ves.
You can't see me any better now because there's a big glare in the mirror. Please turn that off. Thank you. Sorry. I will try and move my light closer so you guys can see me better. There we go. So either way, point being, sorry for the interruption, education is going to boom, because now kids are going to be taking these courses, and once you take the courses, then they're going to be looking out to go to universities to study and apply themselves. And I think it's awesome. Awesome. And in fact, let's see. In fact, I've got diaspora families that are coming back, and they're asking me about this stuff. And so that's why I've been diving into all these different educational options, because it's one thing to understand like the K-12 levels and all the different educational options there are when you've got littles, but post high school, there's a lot of different educational options that are opening up now. Some are a lot more advanced, others are much more traditional, and I'm getting all the resources in. I'm finding all these places that want mentors, that want teachers. So if you are coming down to El Salvador, please check out Living Like a Local, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you find your place in El Salvador. So you are giving more than taking. So you are integrating into society and making El Salvador a better place because you're here, not a worse place because you're here. Don't really need that. But let's see. So greetings from Calgary. Hola desde Calgary. Hi, PC. Education will move us forward to become a stellar country with citizens that are free to become successful, self-sufficient, and we will ultimately become empowered, breaking the cycle. That's right, Alan, right there. And it has to be through education that El Salvador moves up. All these people are saying, well, I just want a higher salary. I just want a higher salary. I just want a higher salary. No, you don't. You want a higher salary because, honestly, because you earn, because you're worth it, because that is your value. Because El Salvador's borders with Guatemala and Honduras, if we just raise the minimum wage just because it's low, we have a problem that we're going to have the same problem as the U.S. has of Guatemalans and Hondurans that don't want to get paid peanuts are going to come flooding into El Salvador. It's like, oh, well, there's higher paying jobs in El Salvador. Okay, but then you'll have a whole bunch of foreigners taking Salvadoran jobs, not legally. And the problem is when when you merit through education and through what you can do for a company, what you know, and the skills that you have, you're going to get a job that's going to pay you good. And guess what? Other people aren't going to be able to have that job because they can't do what you do. And so in this way, we can move up the wages in El Salvador by becoming more educated, more skilled, more empowered. Because I want Hondurans to be able to make amazing lives. I want Guatemalans to have amazing lives and to get paid, worthy, a dignity, what do they call it? Like a salario digno. They call it, I guess, a dignity salary, so they can actually live. But you got both sides of the coin in that, of like, you have to merit that salary, or else you're going to have other people flooding in and say, well, why should they give the job to you if this other person, they can pay way less and they can do the same job? I mean, as a business owner, I can tell you it doesn't make sense to pay more to somebody who can do the same thing as somebody that I can pay less to. And yeah, so I'm saying, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm just saying this is awesome. And I'm super excited for the Salvadoran youth because they are hungry and they are ready and they want to learn and they want to create a totally new future. Let's see. Hi. It's very emotionally and emotive to hear education development in El Salvador. I'm so proud of President Bukele. Thank you. Living Like a Local for your amazing videos. Thanks, Brian. Okay, so that's about 30 minutes. If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat right now and I'll try and answer them. Because what we do at Living Like a Local is families, people that are coming to El Salvador, they come to us. We have a special concierge package where we literally help you, like, hold your hand for 3 months and daily, step by step, walk you through integrating you into El Salvador. We get everything in line. We get your house in line. If you're building a home, we have contractors that will not scam you, that will do a good job and build a great house for you. We get everything from your social group in line. We get everything from your education in line. And that is a big one, is getting your kids into the right places so they can have the future that they want to have. Like if my kid was in the US and he wanted to become an engineer, hello, I'm just doing this as an example of someone that contacted me this week saying, okay, I've got these kids, but like some of them are seniors and they're debating on whether to stay in the States and go to school in the States versus come down with us in El Salvador. And I honestly told her, I'm like, well, who's going to pay for them? Like, do they have scholarships? Or is the school going to pay for them to go to school? Because there's a lot of engineering degrees. U.S. is starved for engineers. My brother-in-law has his own structural engineering company. He's a partner. He's super high. All of his engineers that he's hired, he's like 80% are Indian because there's no engineers graduating from U.S. schools. They go and they get other degrees that are all about their passion that don't pay anything. And just saying. So they're importing all these and they're paying for engineers from other countries to come in to work and do these jobs because there isn't American kids. So, I mean, I told her being real, I'm like, sit your seniors down and get real about what does the future look like. Because if they don't necessarily have, because then if they don't necessarily have a scholarship and have somewhere where they will be paid to go to school and have somewhere to stay while they're going to school or working part-time, then hey, why not come down here, check out Key, see if Key is a viable option because it's much cheaper than going to school up in the US and you're going to get a really good engineering education. And that might be a better future for that kid rather than staying in the US and paying $35,000 a year in education. Just saying. So with these new options opening up, it really begs to say of like, well, which is better? Honestly, it depends. So and that's why I sit down with you and we get nitty gritty on what's really happening, what you really want, what your kids really want, where do you want to be in 5 years? And this is why it's helpful that I'm a life coach, that I've got all that training so we can really plot out and plan out and get what usually takes most people a year of adjustment in getting used to El Salvador. We cram it into 3 months so you can get back to your new normal life in El Salvador. And get your role in and creating this amazing new paradise that will be your paradise because you will be creating it. Let's see. We need more role models here to show the youth the value of education. Yep, that's great. And I think Charity, I think that's why he's going to do the CVAR talks, the having inspirational experts come in and share their background, share their expertise to inspire the youth of things that they can possibly, futures that could be theirs. So, okay, that's it for my life. I will see you guys next week. And if you have questions or other topics that you'd like me to cover in my life, put them in the chat and I'll consider them. That's it. If you're looking to move to El Salvador, check out livinglikealocal.com, where one of our team will help you figure out what your next steps may be. That's it. We'll see you. I'm Jenny Adi, shining my light so you can shine yours.